Hello, and welcome to Drawing on Fridays, the Landon Huber Experience Show. This is the one show where you will find all things intriguing and interesting and awesome and scary and all of the above. So, what is this? This is a picture of a witch with a scary looking pumpkin. Now this pumpkin here is not an actual pumpkin. The way I imagine it is like this witch is kind of conjuring this pumpkin and making it appear, so it's kind of like a magic pumpkin. And I drew this in a previous episode of Drawing on Fridays, and you can find that in the link below. If you want to check that out, check the link below. But in this episode, I'm going to be taking it from this sort of rough stage to a more finished pencil drawing. So stick around and watch me do that. And then at the end, I'll be showing you the final inks of this piece. Now, this is episode 25 of Drawing on Fridays. So there's a previous 24 episodes. So if you guys like what you see in this episode, go ahead and go back and catch some of the other episodes. These are about a half hour, give or take, per episode. And I'm going to set my timer. Set timer for 30 minutes.
30 minutes, counting down.
Okay, so here we go. So one of the things that kind of came to me, because as an artist, there's things that you already kind of know that you've gathered over the course of your lifetime. And then there's things that you kind of pick up along the way. And kind of like insights of ways to think about art. And I was thinking about it, and the way to think about like when you want to make a picture, like right now, you know, we're starting here with the white piece of paper, right? But white, like when you look at an actual picture, anything that's actually totally white, even in a black and white picture or whatever, a photograph, anything that's totally white is actually probably just the very brightest highlights, right? Now, because these pictures are being colored later, I'm gonna these things are gonna end up getting filled in, and so there's gonna be color here, color there. You know, everything's gonna be colored, and then I can pick tones with the color. But in the black and white art version, everything is kind of simplified into, you know, since this art is going to be inked art, everything becomes simplified into what is white and what is black. And lines are about all you have to indicate gray. But if I wasn't going to rely on coloring at all, it would make it very difficult to convey the picture exactly how I'm imagining it, using just lines. So for me, that's generally just part of the process. And then the final image, the way I imagine it, really comes together with the colors. But if I couldn't have colors to rely on, I didn't have any tone. Because colors give you, I'm going to use the word value. Colors give you the entire range of value, right? And from dark to all the way to light value. And in between white and black, there's thousands of increments, of gray. And that's what gives you value. But here we're more or less simplifying the art down to just white and black, and then the value is added later in the color. But I do like to, in my style, indicate a certain amount of that with the line work. I just think it looks cool, I guess, but then there is also a certain amount of balance, because I know I'm going to be coloring this. I don't want to go too crazy, and I want to leave enough open space in here for the color to sit in there. So how is that an insight? I guess the insight is really just to kind of think about it as though the white is nothing more. The white of the paper that you start with is nothing more than what would actually just be the brightest highlight parts. And then you have that whole gamut of values to work with in between. And that's what you make your picture with. It almost seems self-explanatory, but it's at the same time something you kind of want to think about when you're making your art, I think. Look at it in that way. Anywhere, obviously, where you want to have more contrast, what you want is less detail. And so it's a strange thing, because it's true that if you have a piece of art, say, that has a lot of detail in one area of the art, and then the rest of it is kind of not a lot of detail, the values are very close together, then the area with the most detail is going to be the area that your eyes focus upon the most, that catches your eye. So the way you make your art interesting is you actually have to play this kind of game of where you want the eye to rest, to stop, and to go around your piece. Now, if you want, at the same time, the area of most contrast is also what catches the eye. But detail and contrast aren't always the same thing. For instance, if I want to create more of a contrast feeling in this piece that I'm working on here, I would actually do big blobs of black, and then big chunks of white. And that would give the most feeling of contrast in this piece. So it's almost, it sounds, the way I just said it, a little counterintuitive. But if you have high contrast and detail in a certain area, your eye just gets stuck in those areas. And if those are areas that, in the context of the overall composition of your piece, that you don't want your eye to kind of focus on those areas, then you need to do one of two things. One, remove detail, or two, maybe even more important, is to minimize the value range in that area. In other words, lessening the contrast. Because, like, if you say you want your eye to go here, but for some reason there's something over here fighting it, it's probably because it has too much contrast in these areas and too much detail. It could be both of those things, and they're kind of fighting against the focal point. If I want the focal point, and this is an example, I'm not talking about this particular picture, but in a picture, if I want the focal point to be over here, then over here and over here, I wouldn't want to have too much contrast and detail. You see what I'm saying? And once you like kind of pick up on all the tools that you have to work with, value and contrast and what else? I'm sometimes when I start thinking about what I'm drawing, I start not thinking about what I'm talking about. So, but when you have all those tools, like once you're aware of them, it will help you make better art, because you can kind of go through the wheelhouse in your brain of, check off the list. It's like, are my values good? Is my composition good? Is my, it's like going through a little checklist in your brain. And you may not nail everyone 100%, but just thinking in those terms, I think is gonna help the art overall just be better. Also, another thing that's important is color temperature. Now with this, which is a drawing, there is no color temperature because there is no color. But when I do go to actually go in and, after I ink it, after I do all that, then go in and color this piece, color temperature is going to be something that I think about. You do kind of want I think it's more interesting. Excuse me. You can break the rules, and you should experiment with breaking rules, I think, and then see what, especially if it's for a certain effect you're going for, and then see kind of what happens, and then if something's just not working though with what you're doing, if you're aware of kind of the rules of colors and color theory and all these other things, then like I just said, the checkbox, you can kind of go through, okay, where is it What did I do wrong? You know, it's not working. Why isn't it working? And if it's because one of your rules you're just not paying attention to, then, or one of the theory points, or etc. If you're not thinking about it, maybe that's where the picture itself is having the trouble. I talked in a previous episode about emotional content, so I think that's where you start, like before you even start drawing at all, that you need to start with thinking about your concept and what is the emotional content. Now, that doesn't mean you have to always draw people looking really emotional, but what I mean by the word emotional content is that your art should evoke some kind of emotion in the viewer, some kind of feeling. Otherwise, it'll just look really boring and bland. And that's almost the first thing you think about when you start a picture. Even though I'm not coloring in this, I'll talk a little bit about a color, and you can find online, videos also that maybe go into more detail, but I do like to have a lot of chroma in my pieces, and sometimes I've intentionally done like high amounts of chroma. But at the same time, you do have to be aware of the balance of chroma. Or saturation is another word meaning the same thing, basically. So if you have too many colors that are all at this high chroma, this high saturation, then those colors are going to start competing and not going to be really appealing for the viewer to look at. Especially if you're going all over the color spectrum and then all the colors are at this high chroma saturation. It's just not going to work. It's not going to work as good as if you took, for instance, say you do want to have a high chroma, pick the color or the few colors that you want to have the high chroma, and they should be I think the word's analogous. Again, no rules that you absolutely have to follow, I guess, but the rules should the colors, when you have really high saturated colors on opposing sides of the color wheel all throughout your piece, it's gonna be a strain on your eyes. You can play with that if that's the effect you're going for. For instance, Van Gogh did that. He would have highly saturated complementary colors, but he did it in a way that was just made the art look more vivid and more alive and interesting. But then if you kind of do it wrong, though, it could end up just making your eyes bleed. It could end up just making your eyes strained and make people not want to look at your picture. So if you pick a highly saturated color on one side of the color spectrum or color wheel, and you want to include a color that's on the opposite side of the color spectrum or color wheel, experiment with taking the saturation down on that other color so as not to compete too much with the saturation of the color which would be maybe one of the main, pieces, one of the main colors you're using in your piece. Hopefully some of that made sense. If it didn't, leave a comment and I'll see if I can explain it. Because I'm kind of going off the top of my dome here, and I don't plan these shows out all that much in advance. Because the primary objective of these Drawing on Friday shows is to create a cool piece of art, which, here come the plugs, are available on my Etsy shop. Check the link in the description below. The Etsy shop is landonhuberart.etsy.com. And that's where I sell all these cool Halloween art pieces. And that's, if you go to the link, you can go straight to that website and find yourself some awesome t-shirts and prints. So I highly recommend you guys go over there and check that out. I also sell on eBay. As of right now, I'm kind of selling fan art and stuff over there. But definitely check that out too. I put the same amount of energy into the quote-unquote fan art pieces that I do into my Halloween art pieces. And people that have ordered the Halloween art shirts so far seem to be really liking them. And so, yeah, I suggest you guys go check that out. Just everything is in the links in the description if you're interested. And I'm also a musician, and if you go to the playlist of this YouTube channel, you will see a few playlists. One is called Creature of Emotion. That was my first album, of which I wrote and recorded and produced the entire album by myself. And I would strongly recommend you go listen to that. A lot of cool songs you've probably never heard. Also, I was in a group, rap rock group. I don't really like calling it a rap rock group, but it had elements of rap and of rock in it, so I guess you could call it that. Although other quote-unquote rap rock groups like Limp Bizkit were nothing like Limp Bizkit. It's a totally different thing. Or Beastie Boys, who I do like the Beastie Boys. But anyway, yeah, check it out. Robots in the Zone. You can see all this stuff in the playlist of this YouTube channel. We made some pretty cool music videos, and we put out 3 full-length LPs. And that one, what we were doing there, I don't know, it might even have the most kind of wider appeal than even my personal solo album, which was called, like I said, Creature of Emotion, which was a little bit more emotional. Not to say that Robots in the Zone had no emotion in it, but just stylistically it might have a little bit more of a kind of wider appeal, I guess. And I got just stuff all over my hands here. So check it out. Also, you guys should know, this being episode 25 of Drawing on Fridays, the Landon Huber Experience Show, there's only going to be one more show for season 1 after this show. So this is the second to last show. Because as I've said in previous episodes, there is only going to be 26 episodes of Drawing on Fridays. And that's going to be coming out weekly until episode 26, at which time I'm going to go on hiatus for a little while. I will still put out YouTube videos sort of randomly, but I've made it a point to put out these Drawing on Fridays shows weekly since I started doing them last year. And it's not something I can continue indefinitely to put these out weekly. I am going to need a break, and there's things in my life I need to take care of that are going to be needing my full attention. And so yeah, I don't know when I'll be coming back. I would like to come back maybe later this year. But there is a certain, and now for sure I'll still keep making videos. I'm not done making videos by any stretch of the imagination, but what I'm going to be done in the foreseeable near future is just the weekly shows. But there are, at the time of this episode airing, there are another 24 episodes you can go back and watch, and one more coming the following week, which would be the last episode of season 1. And as I say, I should be coming back at some point with season 2. We'll see what happens. The more you guys can sort of like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, help the algorithm push these videos out so more people will see them. Because that's the truth, is like YouTube just doesn't help you much pushing your stuff out unless it sees engagement. So yeah, there we go. Kind of doing detail work at this point. I think this one is really, and as with most of my pieces, I think they really come to life in the coloring. Yeah, it's not quite real, until it's colored. The camera probably shut off about a minute ago or so, but let's continue here. Alright, now I'm squinting. I'm trying to imagine what this is going to look like once we get some ink on there. Get a little bit more black. This is secret. It's And some big chunky black areas. Make it look cool. That's pretty much there. I mean, most of the rest of this is an inking job. But I'm just fine-tuning it just a little bit more here. Thanks for watching, you guys. Oh, I forgot to mention, I also have 9 episodes so far. My up timer is going off slightly prematurely. I have 9 episodes in the playlist of what I call process videos, art process videos. Those are more like fully edited together like movies, kind of show the entire creation of a piece of art all in one go, and they are pretty cool, so check those out too, guys. The art process videos of Landon Huber, all in the playlist of this YouTube channel, along with cool music, the Hole in the Wall Gang, a fun album I made. Okay, everybody right now, go listen to the song Never Really Thought About It. Okay, you're gonna like it. Everybody likes that song. It's just a really catchy, fun song. Never Really Thought About It by the Hole in the Wall Gang. It's on this YouTube channel. Never Really Thought About It. Promote that song a little bit. Lots of other cool songs too, but you know, there's always that one that's kind of hard to beat, you know, as far as just being fun and catchy and all that. And that might be the one. Of course, you can't like get too much following formats, right? And every song would sound the same. But yeah, that's a cool one. Alright, guys. I'm going to call that a show. I will be inking this off camera, but coming up next is the final inks for this piece, The Witch with the Magic Pumpkin. Thanks for coming by and watching the Landon Huber Experience Show. Take it easy. Catch you next time. See you later, guys.